Today, I'm going to talk about frog lube. What is it? How do you use it? And should you replace it as your traditional gun lube? So if you want to learn more about this product and how it works, don't go away. All right, so let's talk about everything that we're going to need for this. We're obviously going to need the gun that we're going to use. You're going to need the frog lube, of course. You're going to need some isopropyl alcohol, a container to soak your parts in, a gun solvent to get all the dirt or lubrication that you have on your gun already after cleaning it the last time you used it. You're going to need a blow dryer, a towel, some Q-tips, an extra rag. So let's get started on this. Okay, today I'm actually going to be frog lubing the Springfield Armory 1911. I've got the Sky CPX2 sitting here because I've already frog lubed this one. I have not actually taken it out to shoot it after I did it, but I don't think that's going to matter too much because after frog lubing this, I can already tell a difference in how smooth the slide operates. I mean, it is just smooth as butter. It feels really good. So let's get to this on the actual gun we're going to use. Now, it's important that your gun is clean, but not only clean, you're going to want it stripped of all previous lubricant that you normally use. Now, mine is clean, but all that oil and grease, we're going to want to get off of that because you want this to be completely clean. You don't want any film, anything like that on any of the parts that you're going to be frog lubing. So you've got to get this clean. So you can just use your conventional solvent on it to get it cleaned off. I prefer Hops 9. After I do that, we're going to soak all the parts in isopropyl alcohol to get the solvent off of it. So I'm going to go ahead, get this all cleaned up, and get started on soaking it in isopropyl alcohol, and we'll go from there. So don't go away. Okay, now that I've got all the old oil off of all the individual pieces, I went ahead and I put them in my container. I filled it with the isopropyl alcohol. Right here I've got 70%. I would use 90%. It's going to be a little bit better and be able to strip all the solvent off of the pieces a little bit faster, a little bit more efficient. So you throw your pieces in there and you're going to let it sit for 20-25 minutes. You really want to give it time for that alcohol to break down that CLP that you use to clean it and or get the old lubricant off of it. Now, with my frame, I'm obviously not throwing it in there, but what I did was I took some Q-tips, soaked the tips in the alcohol, and I ran them over all the surfaces that I wanted cleaned off, so that way that they're nice and dry and there's no oil, there's no solvent on any of it, so that way I can go ahead and frog lube this stuff up. So while this stuff is soaking and getting cleaned up, let's go over what comes in the particular kit that I got. Now you can go on to froglube.com, find out what else they have. They've got an assortment of other products that you can try out. Now the guy that turned me onto this stuff had seen a few of my videos and he started talking to me about it, and he goes by the name of Shepard. Awesome guy, sounds extremely knowledgeable about frog lube and just guns in general. Nice guy. So what he did was he left me a comment and he broke down step by step how to use this, how to apply it, because it's kind of a specific process. It's not hard to do. It's not super time consuming. But if you do it wrong, you're going to experience problems with the product. You can gum up your gun, you can gum up the trigger, you can gum up the action, and you're going to have some malfunctions. But if you do it right, you won't have any of that. So let's go over what you get in this particular kit. And then by the time we're done doing this, all those pieces should be done and ready to go. All right. So you get a cleaning towel. You get your oil. Now, when you do this for the first time, don't worry about using the oil. You're going to want to use the paste first. You've got your CLP, again, for the first application. don't worry about using this. Use the isopropyl alcohol to strip it of everything first. Got an application brush. You got some application Q-tips that are probably better than just regular Q-tips, but I haven't used these yet. I don't really want to use them because I don't want to get them messed up. And then you've got what really is the product you're going for, and that is the paste. Now, I'll show you exactly how to apply all that kind of stuff, but before you even get to applying any of this, you have to have your hair dryer. Because what you want to do is you want to heat up each individual piece to about 100, 110 degrees. What that does is it opens up all the pores in the metal and allows the frog lube paste to really soak into it. So don't go anywhere. I'm going to let this stuff soak a little while, and then we'll get to the process. Okay, so I just went ahead and heated this up with the hair dryer. So let's get started before this cools down. So what you do is you open up your paste, get a little bit on your applicator brush. If it's really stout like that, you can use your hair dryer to soften it up. Now all you're going to do is you're just going to apply it to all your metal-to-metal surfaces that are going to be friction points. And because it's been heated up, you can see that it's already starting to melt onto the gun. That's my kids in the background, if you can hear them. I'm sorry about that. They're absolute savages. They never stop. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing this on the entire frame down here because that's where you're going to be holding it and gripping it. You're not going to want that to be lubricated because it doesn't need to be lubricated. Okay. All right, so that's good and lubricated now. And now you can see that right now it's wet because it's hot, so it's melted. So right now what's going on is that frog lube is soaking into all the pores of the metal. And when it's done soaking in and the frame is dry, it's going to kind of have a glassy surface to it. It's not going to look wet anymore. It's going to be dry, and it's going to look dry. You'll be able to tell. So now all you're going to do is you're going to go on to each individual part. You're going to use your hair dryer. You're going to warm them up, and then you're going to apply the paste just like I did with the frame. So after I get that done, I'll show you what you got to do from there. So don't go away. Okay. So I went ahead and I finished pasting every single piece. Now the frame was the first one I did, and as I got done, you could see how glossy and shiny it was, and now it's kind of glassy, kind of a matte finish to it like that. You run your finger over it, you kind of wipe off the top layer, and it's nice and shiny underneath. So now from here, what we're going to do is we're just going to wipe it down completely. You want to wipe all that excess lube, frog lube, off the surface. And when you're done doing that, you'll kind of have, I don't know what the right word would be to describe it, but you'll kind of have a matte finish look to the metal. It won't be wet from oil like, conventional oil does, but it'll give it kind of a matte colored look to it where it's just a nice smooth finish to it. And once you get that, that's kind of basically what you're going for. And what happens is, as you're shooting the firearm, the surfaces that have the frog lube on it, after they heat up, the frog lube will melt again, kind of come out of the pores of the firearm and lubricate it. Frog Lube is also really good for rust prevention. You put it on all the other surfaces, it'll keep it from rusting. It's great stuff. I've shot several guns of my other guns that have it on there. I was pretty satisfied with it, so I decided to go ahead, do a video on how to apply it, and also mention where I had first heard about it from and the instructions that I'm using. Again, they're from a guy by the name of Shepard. Okay, let's see. That's not looking too bad. You know, I guess the longest part of this process is if you've already got a gun that you've already taken out to shoot and you've already cleaned it up again, then you've got to take it back apart, get all the oil that you put on it off of it, soak it in the alcohol so that way you can do this step. Now, once you've already done this once, afterwards doing this, you can go ahead and use the CLP that is provided. Now, I don't know the science behind it. You could probably look it up somewhere. But the CLP that is provided with the kit is supposed to break down all the powder and the carbon deposits and the dirt, but not supposed to break down the Frog Lube itself. I don't know exactly how that works. It seems to be kind of legitimate, though, from what I've seen on my other guns. But then after that, after you clean it up, you just do this process again. You warm them up a little bit. You apply some Frog Lube to it, wipe it back down, and you're off and going. It's basically kind of like getting an old cast iron pot and you get some lard and you heat it up on the stove, the pot up on the stove, and then you put the lard in there and you're seasoning it is basically what you're doing. And that's kind of what this is with the Frog Lube. You're seasoning all your gun parts to keep them from wearing, to keep them from rusting. And as the part heats up, it also provides lubrication for it. Now, I even applied Frog Lube down the barrel. So what I'm going to use to get the excess Frog Lube out of the barrel is just some good old-fashioned ear-style Q-tips. Now, when you're done doing this, you don't want a whole bunch of excess Frog Lube because, again, if you have too much on there, what's going to happen is the first time you take it out, it's going to probably shoot just fine. The gun will heat up, the Frog Lube will melt, it will come out of the pores, it'll lubricate really well, but then it'll be concentrated in higher amounts in some places versus others, and then after you put it away, if you don't clean it right away, it's going to cool back down, and then it's going to end up gumming your either your trigger up or your slide up or something like that, and then you can have malfunction. So you want to get all the excess off of it. Wow. That's really nasty. I thought I had a cleaner barrel than that. Huh. Well, we'll see how it does without cleaning it real thorough. Okay, so that's done. Now, I went ahead and I did the outside of the slide because it is also a rust preventative, and I don't want it to rust, obviously. Now, as this warms up, after I wipe all this excess off, some of it is going to come back out, and it is going to give the slide, the exterior part of the slide, a little bit of a wet look, I guess, to it. But if you don't use too much and you don't get too carried away, you'll go and you'll touch it, but you won't have any residue on your hands. It won't be slippery. It won't be hard to manipulate the slide or anything like that. If it is slippery and hard to manipulate the slide, you didn't wipe it off enough or you put too much on. So just, kind of keep that stuff in mind. There, look at that. Yeah, look at that. Nice matte finish to it. That's what you want. Okay, now I need to get the stuff on the inside. Okay, so like right there, I don't know if you're gonna actually be able to see this, but right at the tip of that Q-tip, you'll see a glob of frog lube right there. You want to get all that kind of stuff out. You don't want any globs of frog lube in there. So you want all that stuff out of all the little nooks and crannies. So I'm going to go ahead, finish this slide up. It's going to take a little bit of time. We'll put this back together and we'll get a feel for the action and see how it feels. Okay, so that's that. I've got everything wiped down. All the excess frog lube is off of each piece. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put this together. Now the kit that I got also does include some frog lube oil. What I'm going to do is just use a tiny bit in all the normal spots that you would use it. Not a whole bunch, just a little bit, just to kind of provide some lubrication before the gun gets hot and the actual paste can start doing its job. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of rails. And I'm using just a drop here and there and rubbing it around. Drop right down in there. Well, that might be a little bit much. Use a Q-tip. To soak up the excess and to apply it throughout the whole rail. All right, now put this bad boy back together. You know what? That's a little bit much. You don't need that much when you use this stuff. Wipe a little bit of that off. Okay. Definitely makes it a little bit difficult to do this when your hands are all slimy. All right, now what we're going to do is anything that is excess on the outside, we're going to wipe it off. All right, there you have it. Man, that's nice looking. Nothing like a good old 1911, I tell you what. All right, so that's frog lube and how to use it. I plan on doing a video here really soon with the 1911 and the Sky, shooting them, see how they do with that. I've shot my Glock with it, does great. I mean, the action felt really good, didn't have any problems with it. Of course, that might just be because it's a Glock, but Anyway, I want to give a special thanks out to Hill Shepard for turning me onto this product. So far, I really like it. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe. Frog Lube is not paying me to do this. I just like the product so much, I want to put it out there, and so that way you guys can see it and decide for yourself if it's something you want to give it a shot or not. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.